Money Church, Monday Money Church. Feed your spirit, see how economics work. Learn the keys to wealth so we can break this curse. And raise your frequency and we can heal the hurt. Just read a verse at Money Church.
Hey, peace family, and welcome to another episode of the Money Church podcast, the spirituality of business, how to live rich in real life. In rich, we are talking about currency, frequency, vibrations, and maneuvering at the highest energy as entrepreneurs, legacy builders, wealth builders, and the CEOs of our last name. I'm your host, King Jay Morrison, as you see, right, King? And the big king, my mentor, spiritual mentor, friend, and partner here on the show, Brian C. Dean, we call the Bishop. So family, this is an amazing podcast opportunity where we're going to tackle business and entrepreneurship, but talk about some universal principles from a spiritual element, non-religious,
yes,
that we all can enjoy, of looking at universal laws and principles that help us as entrepreneurs, right? So I'm just going to alley-oop real quick to Overseer Brian C. Dean, the Bishop. Talk to us, please.
Bless you, sir. What a joy to be back, Jay. You're looking good, man.
Thank you.
And we
appreciate you looking good. I'm looking all right.
I just don't want to embarrass you, Doc. This is your platform, and we're glad to be back. We're truly grateful for all that has been accomplished in the last 6 to 7 weeks.
Yeah, I think it's week 8 right here.
Yeah. And we have had a tremendous journey so far as it relates to the topics we've dealt with, different, 7 levels of revenue. We've talked about so many different capacities so far, and then there's so much more to go. And so tonight we're excited about what's going on in your life. You've got birthday coming up. You've got anniversary celebrations. You've got another beautiful new book that's being launched. So much going on here at the Legacy Center. We're glad to be here, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, family, if you guys didn't know, I am arriving at 20 years in real estate, 20 years in the business, and looking forward to my next 20. That'll be coming up on my 41st birthday, October 30th.
Wow.
Right, we got my 41st birthday. God's blessing with another year. And my
Lord.
4th book. This is a special book because this is a video, first of its kind, video textbook, a video textbook experience called the 12-Step Real Estate and Business Crash Course that will be pre-selling on my birthday, one-day pre-sale. You guys can join the waiting list at 12stepvip.com. Wow. That's the numbers 12stepvip.com for this video textbook, 6.5 hours of video lessons in this 298-page workbook, textbook, glossary, all that curriculum, teaching real estate in 7 different learning styles. So I'm excited to innovate education again and push myself as a teacher and as a information giver. And so I'm excited about tonight.
Yes, sir.
Money Church is, for me, my spiritual Bible study.
Yes.
It's my entrepreneurial spiritual study. And I think it adds value to you all. I mean, it's just energy all in this podcast.
Hallelujah.
That you could pull things from. So we're just going to be building. We're opening up the platform. We're building. For those who want to get this privately and get reminders, text MoneyChurch to 404-737-5751. That's text the words MoneyChurch, all one word, to 404-737-5751, and we'll text you reminders as we do this pretty much every Monday.
Awesome. Yeah. We've been consistent.
Consistency.
And, yes, sir.
Finishing the race, man. Finish strong.
That's it. And tonight I'm excited about the topic that we're going to discuss by way of endurance for entrepreneurs.
Yes.
And how important that is. And so I think we've already kind of kicked off one of the key principles, and I'm sure we'll come back to it, but that word consistency is a valuable principle to endurance, to any vision, long-term or, even short-term in some cases. But anybody who's watching us tonight, undoubtedly, if you're still here after so many years in the earth period, you've already experienced certain qualities such as endurance, because each of us had to be qualified to still be here. And the things you had to overcome, deal with, learn, get through, let alone in a business arena and in a business sector, those qualities have been earned by you and now they're designed to work for you. And so we're going to discuss some of them things tonight.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? What's different, family, for business as opposed to just living life is that we don't choose per se to have life, right? Life is given to us.
That's good.
And we're birthed, right? And we all just walk the human journey.
Yes.
But to be an entrepreneur, to be a business owner, you must choose the path
That's excellent.
of entrepreneurship or business owner, which is the harder path.
Come on.
It's the less likely path. It's the more challenging path, where the common norm is to be a wage earner, to be a worker, trade your hours for time. So
that's
to
powerful.
choose to be an entrepreneur says something already about one's ability, or at least willingness to accept endurance.
I like that.
And to run the race. You got to jump in the race.
That's it. And you've been a runner, from what I understand, back in the school days. So you can add some additional value to this idiomatic term of running the race in conjunction with business. But by all means, I like the fact that you pulled out, business is a choice. It's not like life, like you said, which is given to you. And it coincides with the principles of the Bible, because there are approximately 331 times the word "if" is mentioned in the Bible, which is a conditional word. It's like God is saying, if you do this, then you can expect that, which gives us to know that God is not in control of everything. Some people think that just because God is sovereign, that means he's sovereign over everything. Well, he's sovereign over the things that he has said he's sovereign over. But when it comes up to business and choices that we make as people, entrepreneurs, businessmen and women, CEOs, visionaries, creators, whatever it is, God says a lot of that depends upon you if you choose to go forward in this arena, to impose your plan, to strike up an invention.
Right.
If you choose, he says, now you put yourself in a position to now experience the broader, greater rewards to those areas like vision, along with, of course, endurance, which is going to be required no matter what it is we're doing. If your vision is to be married, I can promise you right now, you're going to need endurance.
Probably the most endurance.
And we won't switch focus from business to marriage tonight, but I thought I'd plug that in as a.
It's done. Everybody out.
So you're going to need this valuable virtue of endurance to prosper in all areas of life, particularly tonight in the area of business.
Absolutely. And I think that's one way that we can, you're not out of the race until you give up the race.
Ooh.
That's one thing about business.
Come
is that you are
on.
still in the game. You are still in the race until you give up and quit
powerful.
the race.
Powerful.
Right? Even if you run out of product, you can still take pre-sales, pre-orders.
Yes.
You can still give consulting services based on your experiences. You can set up a business and actually fail and flop at a business. And then make a career being a consultant, telling others about your mistakes and how to avoid them.
That's it. Powerful. So good. And I found out a significant part to that, Jay, too, is making sure that the network of people around you are feeders. Because when you're going through those times of drought and you've hit those times in life where you're in those what we call midlife crises, whether it's in business or otherwise, you need the right kind of people who are still feeding you the right kind of message while you're in that drought. Because if you get too much of the other kind of negative reinforcement, if you get too much of the other echoes of those who say, yeah, it's good that you gave that up. We never thought you were going to last in that anyway.
Right.
Then it's easier for you to believe that and then check mark yourself off and say, yeah, that's a wrap. Let's just walk away. But if you've got enough people in your ear saying, you know what, like you just spit on the mic and said, hey, you could literally sell your mistakes as quote unquote a form of buoyancy to business where you bounce back through a book, through whatever the case may be. And that is an awesome point. It's not over until you say it is.
Right. And when you talked about people having feeders, it triggered me to think about also having cheerleaders, right? When you think about marathon runners or track runners or any sport, cheerleaders are a real thing.
Man, come on.
Why they invent cheerleaders for sports?
Wow, that's good.
So that when your team is down, when you're gassed, when you got cramps,
come on,
when you're running out of energy, when you're right, the odds are against you.
Yes.
That fuel and energy of others is projected on you to help you keep going.
So good.
Or so that when you're winning the race, because you need endurance even when you're winning. Endurance is not always about when you're losing your entrepreneurial battle. You can have a great $1 million year through the pandemic. You can have a $2 million, $10 million year.
Yes.
But can you do that every year on year for the next 10 or 20, 30, 40, 50 years?
Powerful.
Can you do that intergenerationally?
Wow.
Can you set up a business system, an ecosystem that not only can you be successful today in business, tomorrow in business, this decade in business, but intergenerationally through the business you created?
My God, what an awesome point. God asked me a question once, Jay. And every now and then he'll ask me a question, and I've learned how to, respond. And he asked me a question once. He said, "How can you make perfect better?" And I thought on that. How can you make perfect better?
That's a good one.
And then, without me responding, because I knew I didn't know the answer, he gave me the answer. He said, maintain it over time.
Wow.
So to reinforce the principle that you're making tonight, can you keep that $1 million, $2 million, $10 million profitable year next year, the year after that, the decade after that, the generation after that? The ability to keep on producing. Like we know there's a difference between a one-night wonder, someone that puts out a one-hit wonder in the music world and you never hear anything else about them, versus someone who has maintained their overall name, their overall production over decades to this day. Right. They still can get on the road and sell out coliseums because they found the way to keep on maintaining those high levels of production. Well, there's a key to that. There's some keys to that level of endurance. And tonight we intend to tap into a couple of those keys. Yeah,
I'm gonna allude to you for that. But I thought about different sports players. I mean, I thought about Gilbert Arenas. I thought about Harold Miner, people they call like the next Jordan, et cetera, who are, had amazing seasons.
Yes.
Had an amazing season, but couldn't last the test of time, whether it was because of injury, whether it was because of discipline, whether it was because of decisions they made off or on the court. Right? All these things matter in our journey towards entrepreneurship. So can you go the test of time? And that's why where I do celebrate, even through ups, downs. I've had 2 or 3 different real estate licenses, let it go, got it back, mortgage license,
come on.
Fund manager, all these different things. 20 years in the real estate business, not all beautiful years.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
My first year was just a loan officer making a 30% commission. And then made some money doing loans, went back to the streets for a couple more years, still have a loan license, still knew the information, then got back into real estate full time, made a few million, then blew that, and then let it go, then came back. And so it wasn't all even consistent, right? It wasn't even consistent.
So good,
20
Jay.
Years.
Come on.
But it's 20 years of being proficient, of being effective, of being reputable, and having some successes.
Wow.
And just having a journey and span in this business. But to your point I love that, how does perfection get better?
Yes.
Is by continuously being perfect.
That's it.
So you be perfect today, you have a perfect game, perfect shot.
Come on.
But tomorrow, if you're 0 for 13, it's over.
Listen. Matter of fact, Babe Ruth said it this way. He said, yesterday's home runs don't win today's games. So no matter how much we've accomplished yesterday, are you still putting out today in a notable, progressive, productive way? And so that's very, very important. These keys tonight we're talking about, I thought about while you were talking, and thank you for sharing that piece about your history where, you went back a couple of years to the streets, came back into, the business arena, and those overall 20 years weren't always constant and consistent. But it made me think of Job. Job in the Bible, many people don't know, Job was a huge businessman. We just associate Job as the man who suffered.
Right.
But when you look closer at his portfolio, you see Job had it going on. Matter of fact, he was the wealthiest man in the town of Nod, and in the city of that particular, in the land, the Bible calls it. And in him, owner operator of a number of multiple areas. He had thousands of camels, of sheep, of various livestock. He had lands. All of his children, all 10 of his kids had houses of their own. Job had servants who were born in his house. He had so many servants, they were born in his house. Job was a major mega businessman. Then he gets tested, and he goes through such a test where you're talking about bankruptcy, you're talking about defamation of character, you're talking about the whole city. Everybody knew Job had lost it all. Job was down in the city dump, literally cutting himself with glass. He was just that wounded, that broken, and his body went into a state of shock. He stunk, the Bible said. His wife spoke about how repugnant his breath was. He went through the most horrible time. He went through such a bad time from business to life that his wife told him, you ought to commit suicide and walk away from all of this.
Wow.
And yet, in the midst of all of that, Job asks a question. In Job 14, verse 7 through 9, he says, if a tree be cut down, can it live again? Now, in the Bible, trees are symbols of prominent men. Grass symbolizes humanity as a whole, but trees represent prominent men in the scripture. So Job asks the question, if a tree be cut down, can it live again? If its stump in the ground, if it dies, if the trunk of the tree yields no more fruition, no fruit, and it dies, is there a possibility that man, that husband, that visionary, that businessman can bounce back? He answers the question in his own soliloquy, and he says this. He says, if the stump be dead in the ground, yet at the scent of water. In the world of botany, it is known that water has such a powerful effect on plants and trees that Job says, at the scent of water, when the root even smells water coming its way, it sends a shock wave of life back into the root system, and it causes the tree to start budding forth again after it was dead. What's my point? You may be a businessman, a businesswoman, up and coming. Maybe you've lost some things. You've gone through some bankruptcies, some closures, some unfortunate twists and turns to life. Maybe a partner that robbed you blind. Whatever the case may be, God is saying to you tonight, you can bounce back if you've got the right kind of water coming your way. What we're talking about tonight is water. Water brings life. In the Bible, water is a symbol of life. And what I said earlier about having the right network of people around you, it's important because people can supply spiritual water for your soul. That's why Jesus said in John 7:37, out of your belly will flow rivers of living water, life. He says, but you got to have enough people pouring in the right stuff in order for you to recover after you've suffered some of those life blows that can make you stop and say, it's too hard. I haven't made a profit in 4 years in this business. I'm just wasting my time. But you don't know that endurance is not just about you reaching the finish line. Endurance is about the process itself. God is not just trying to get you across your finish line. even though that's the focus of our discussion tonight, finishing the race. God is not just interested about us completing. God is focused on the run itself, the race itself, the process itself. Because in the process, that's who you become. You become stronger, wiser, broader. It's in the process that he shapes you, makes you a wiser businessman, businesswoman, whatever the case may be. But you can't focus on the end to such a degree that you miss the real focus that God has and why he's allowed you to suffer Job-like scenarios, even in the business world that you've experienced. He says there's something to be gleaned, something to be gained in your character, in your knowledge base, in your overall experience, because experience is equity, even in the business world.
Yeah, I think that experience piece is so important. I think many of us overlook it. If you formed a company and you didn't do an operating agreement with a partner, and it ended bad, and it ended in a litigation, or ended in a partner getting over on you, or whatever, that was an experience for you to be a better businessman or businesswoman.
Yes.
Now you can say, hey, that didn't go well, left a bad taste in my mouth, and I'm done with this race. Or you know what? I didn't prepare well for the race.
Wow.
I didn't train well for the race.
Wow, come on.
I wasn't equipped well. I didn't have the right cleats for the race. So a lot of times we go into our entrepreneurial race unprepared.
Yes.
We go try to flip a house without any prior understanding of the business.
Wow.
We go try to wholesale a deal not understanding contracts or not engaging an attorney.
Yes, sir.
We go try to syndicate an opportunity, but dotting our I's and crossing our T's, but then are mad at the results and the finish of our race, as opposed to learning from the mistakes we made during the journey and fixing our form.
That's it.
Right? If you're shooting free throws and you're shooting 50%, there's something you're not doing right in your form.
Yes, sir.
Now, you could just be mad at the foul line and mad at the ball and mad at the hoop and just mad at the sport. Or if you use it as an opportunity to get better. And a lot of times that get better is based on your mentorship, based on your training, based on your coaching, based on who is grooming you and who is preparing you to be a better runner for the race.
Come on, man. It's fantastic. I'm reminded, as you were talking, Job, of another major mogul business model here in America, P. Diddy, Sean Combs, who he took on the challenge years ago to run the New York City Marathon. And he even went on and kind of boasted and told Oprah ahead of time, I'm gonna beat your time. And then they showed his preparation process and how they were training him, and how after he would hang out and sometimes go to the clubs, they had to put him in ice baths and literally jolt him back to sobriety and prepare his body for certain things. And then as they were preparing him, he said he got in the race, and you were saying something earlier about the importance of cheerleaders. And I never forgot this. In the race at one point, he went on Oprah after the race was over the next day. She actually interviewed him. He actually did beat her time. And she asked him, what was the toughest part in the race? Now, this is still business related. Please catch this. He said at one point in the race, he said it was somewhere around maybe the 10th to 12th mile. He said, my toes started bleeding through my sneakers. He said, and I was coming through the crowd and I was waving at the crowd, telling them, I'm about to quit. I can't run anymore. He said, and as he was waving his hands, they thought he was greeting them, so they kept cheering him. And as long as they cheered him, he kept running.
Wow.
And he crossed the finish line with bleeding sneakers, bleeding feet, but he endured that suffering to accomplish that race. And undoubtedly the character that experience must have added to him is something that we need to appreciate about our own journeys in life and business and entrepreneurship.
And that brings me to a thought. I was building with one of my brothers, Don Jacobs, on our other podcast we're launching, How to Beat the Trap, launching October 30th as well, part of my next 20. And he was giving a story about having owned over 1,000 doors in real estate, right? Apartment complexes, houses, all that, right? Multiple $1 million homes. And when the market crashed, he lost everything. And not only did he lose everything, that his nephew, who he raised, like almost like a son, had died. And the day of the funeral and repast they had at his house, the sheriffs came to evict him from his house the same day. And he was talking about how broken he was. But he had this big business, right, over 1,000 doors in real estate. And I say that to say this. When you talk about P. Diddy running a marathon, 10, 12, 15, however many miles.
Yes.
Some of us, toes never bleed. Some of us never need cheerleaders. Some of us never need endurance because we're never doing anything big enough.
Wow.
We are comfortable and we are in safe spaces as entrepreneurs, and we don't push our potential, we don't push our gifts, we don't push ourselves to the limit.
Yes, sir.
And there's something to be said about those big challenges.
Yes.
Those next levels, franchising your business, licensing your business, developing intellectual property, trademarking your business, doing it to the next level. It's easy to have a easy hustle. It's easy to have a simple curriculum. It's easy to do some of the smaller things, to go run a 40-yard dash
Come on.
as opposed to a 15-mile marathon.
Yes.
And that's where you really find out what you're made of. It's really where you push yourself to the next level. Is where you learn new things about yourself.
Yes.
Is where you develop new skills, right? As you push yourself. If you don't push yourself, you really don't truly see what your levels are, what your endurance is, and what you can really accomplish.
Man, that's fantastic. So true. And with that, Jay, in order for us to meet those long-term goals or to launch that riskier vision and business, to step out, to get a loan that you really didn't want to get, but you had to get it in order for you to meet the demands of your vision. And so it took more faith for you to do that. There are some keys that we need to put out on the table that are significant to endurance and building your endurance for business. And some of those keys, I want to start with one of them, which is governance.
Okay.
Governance. A African marathon runner governs his energy different than a Usain Bolt, who is just in it for a 40-meter, 100-meter sprint. There's a different governance. Now, depending upon what you're trying to accomplish in life, in business, you've got to govern yourself accordingly. You don't want to run a marathon race by putting too much energy into your vision in the beginning to where you literally become like the hare in the old school story, Tortoise and the Hare, where you run so fast off the gate to where now you find yourself needing to rest and you're taking unnecessary breaks because you lacked governance. You need to govern your temperance. Don't be as upset as you would normally be when you understand there's supposed to be some bumps and bruises on your way to success.
That's a word, y'all.
You're supposed to expect that. And so if you don't expect that, if you think you're going to be the first one to bypass all of the rules of life, and you're going to go from here to Mount Everest, to the top, and not have to deal with no potential slips, falls, no cliff-hanging moments, then I've got to tell you something. You haven't been properly prepared for this journey. Right. You've got to govern yourself emotionally. You've got to be able to control yourself in so many different ways. So governance is a key. One of the other keys to building up your endurance is to prepare yourself in the way of consistency. Consistency. Can you be consistent in one thing every day for at least 21 days? It has been said if we do anything new in our lives for at least 21 days consistently, you have now created a new habit even within your brain pathways. Your brain has pathways and grooves to it. So when you literally apply yourself in a certain area for at least 21 days, there's a new pathway that begins to form in your brain. Your brain takes that on as a regular part of your lifestyle, and now there's a greater capacity in your psychology for what it is you're doing. So then consistency becomes very important for the long haul. If we're going to endure anything, again, business, life, marriage, please keep in mind, don't try to accomplish some huge juggernaut goal and you haven't appreciated the incremental steps. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. Yeah. Consistency. If you can manage a day, you can learn to manage a week. You can learn to manage a month. You can learn to manage a lifestyle. But you've got to start in those incrementations that are very important. Then one of the other things key to endurance is you've got to value rest. Rest is a major component to being able to endure 20, 30, 40 years in the same field, in the same area of business, career, whatever it is. You've got to be prepared that the Sabbath, God was the biggest and is the biggest CEO of all. And even God gave us a pattern in the book of Genesis and said, after he created everything in 6 days, he rested on the seventh. He was giving us a template. It's not because God was tired. He was giving us a template of how he wanted us to live and appreciate. If you plan to be around for a while, value rest. Rest is very important. Another major key is stability. It's like a good stock. You're not always going to see your stock rise every day.
Right.
There's no stock that continues to rise every day.
Right.
So the moment you see a dip in the overall graph, you ought not be panicking, because over time, what you want to look for is stability. Does that stock remain stable over 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and beyond? Right. Stability is important for you and I and all businessmen and women and entrepreneurs. You want to be known to be stable. You want to be one of those companies that may not be the biggest profitable company in all human history, but you've been consistent and stable through depressions, through debacles, through financial failures on the nation, whatever, the stock market crash, whatever the case is. Pandemics. Do you have stability to your overall vision to where after it's said and done, people can look up and still see you standing? Major key.
So I believe in all of that, and I challenge myself in a few of those areas. I constantly do. So how does one who's an entrepreneur and understanding, right, logically, hey, we can't always be going up. We all know that,
yes,
right? There's going to be valleys and peaks. But when someone's livelihood, someone's family eating or not, someone's savings, their 401k, the equity they pull from their home, whatever, is depending on the success of this business or this venture, how does someone maintain a good government, a good temperament, a good pace, a good maturity, know how to fall back and rest when everything's on the line as an entrepreneur and you see that there's declines, dips, or even a down period in your business? How does someone still maintain that posture?
That's an excellent question, Jay. I have found that most of the time, if not every time, every king, every queen, every major player always had advisors. You got Solomon, richest man in biblical history, other than Jesus himself, and the scriptures reveal this wise man, who was the richest man, still had advisors. Now, Solomon had a son named Rehoboam, who Rehoboam had the benefit of his father's advisors, Solomon. But Rehoboam made a horrible choice, because when Rehoboam became king, instead of listening to the seasoned voices of his father's advisors, which he had access to, he listened to his peers, who were advising him, and they gave him some horrible counsel in a time of kingly judgment when he had to make some crucial decisions. And he listened and leaned on the voice of the unwise, and it cost him everything. He had a short-lived kingdom. What's my point? I have found who your go-to person is. Oprah has a go-to person. Who your go-to person is. There is a man, I forgot his name, he's regarded as the cleanup man in the NBA. Because when NBA players like Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, the best of the best, when they suffer injuries, when they go through life-altering situations, and it doesn't look like maybe they would recover, when all of the regular therapists do what they can and no one else can help the matter, they bring in who they call the cleaner.
Yes.
And this man,
I think it's Tim Grover, I believe.
that's his name.
Yep,
That's
Tim
it.
Grover.
That's it.
He wrote the book Relentless.
That's it.
Yes.
And he has this uncanny, uncommon ability to tap into the deeper resources and potential and fire and faith of those players and unlock something in them that causes them to rise up from the ashes, to push through the pain, to recover from the injury, to believe in themselves, and to go on and win. So one of the responses I would give to that very powerful question you asked is check to see who your go-to person is or your go-to people are. That's going to play a major difference in how you are either able to recover, bounce back, regulate, deal with the pressure, get good answers, get good instructions, and know where to step next, even when you've got all of those adversaries and obstacles in your way.
Wow. No, I think that's amazing for all of us who are taking notes to understand is that you don't got to do it all alone, even as the head of your organization, right? Even as the CEO, the boss, the business owner,
Yes.
You can rely on advisors,
Yes.
on counsel, on mentors, and choosing those wisely.
Yes, sir.
To be able to be not just an emotional cheerleader for you or a replenisher, but also those who can, like you said, help put you back together.
Yes, sir.
Because as entrepreneurs, we too can become broken, right?
Yes.
We can become broken emotionally, we can become broken financially, we can become broken spiritually. And, I've found, and that's why even this MoneyChurch and before MoneyChurch, our private Bible studies and mentorship spiritually have helped me because I'm such a spiritual person. My businesses were based off of a spiritual calling.
Yes.
And so to be able to sync both entrepreneurially and spiritually have allowed me to see and to have glue and have counsel and direction on some better ways to move. So I think I want to say this as some kind of mentor advice. Your mentors, your advisors should certainly, outside of being successful or whatever that might look like, they should reflect your values.
Yes.
Right? Like someone could be successful, and be like, oh man, he's $1 million mentor. But does that $1 million mentor have the same moral values and moral compass as you?
Right, that's good.
Because the things that they could be advising you on may not be the same kind of spiritual frequency or alignment that you are on in your journey.
Excellent. So very true. And so therefore, in response to that, Jay, I would say, value the process as well. That's very important, process. Because in this overall journey of endurance, believing against all odds, the ability to stay consistent to something when it's hard, whether it's you attaining the body you desire, the health you desire, the house you desire, the business you desire, the legacy, whatever the case is, understanding the value of the process itself is very important to enduring during those hard times. You've got to understand that process is important. It's not about just the end. It's about everything in between A and Z. I mean, let's face it. If it was up to us and we could have a shortcut to success and bypass the tears, the pain, the betrayal, the hardships, the failures, the bad choices, all the things that come along with being human and being in business, if we could bypass that and go straight to the finish line, we would. However, when you cross that finish line, in most cases, you would be a dumb winner.
Right.
You would have won, and you wouldn't probably even be able to appreciate the gold around your neck. You wouldn't know a thing about the pain that made the prize valuable. I can promise you right now, people who had to go through hell and high water to get to their dream, to make it reality, I can tell you right now, it means so much more to them than someone who struck the lottery.
They appreciate it better. Not only that, like as you mentioned, they gain this skill set.
That's it.
They gain the tools along the way, because all that pain was learning examples. What do I do when I get cramps? What do I do when my muscles tighten up? What do I do when my foot's bleeding? What do I do, right? So all those things are invaluable lessons that only a high-level playmaker, and only a high-level performer get to experience.
Come on.
The average person doesn't even get to experience high-level pain. Because they never even put themselves in the so game or in position to even be stretched to that level.
Yes.
They don't even know what the pain is like on a 12th mile of a marathon, because you never ran 3.
Come on.
You never ran 3. You know what 12 is like.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And that's special.
No, it is special. And Jay, there's a very powerful principle that the Apostle Paul in the Bible speaks to in Philippians chapter 3. And Paul is talking about his life in the form of a race. And he's relaying how in life he had accomplished many things. He was talking about his trophies and accolades as a Pharisee. He was the greatest learner in Jewish law. He was most zealous. He had the highest levels of authority in the Roman government. And he was dealing with all of his wonderful accomplishments. But then he says something that's very, very powerful and key to this conversation. He said, "But I counted all of that as loss that I might win Christ." Now, what he was saying was that life comes with W's and L's. In the business world, it would be P&L, profits and losses. Life brings that to us. He says, but I need you to know this. Paul says, in Christ, in the kingdom of God, he says, the way to win is learning how to lose. Learning how to lose. What are you willing to lose in order for you to win? Are you willing to lose some sleep? Are you willing to lose some sleep, some friends? Are you willing to lose some energy, lose some money that you would have much rather spent on a vacation, but you're investing it back into the business? What are you willing to lose? Are you willing to lose years to go to school to learn certain things and devote yourself to your craft that you might become the best of what it is that you do? What are you willing to lose in order to win? So Paul says, if you really want to know how to cross the finish line, learn how to lose. For in learning how to lose, we'll learn how to win.
I think that is the most critical element for all high-level entrepreneurs, because the definition of entrepreneurship is one that organizes a business and takes greater than normal financial risk to do so.
Yes, sir.
Right? So to be an entrepreneur, you're accepting greater than normal risk, greater than normal potential loss. So you're saying, I'm willing to lose some time out of my life to try this venture. I'm willing to lose some money, some investment, some ROI. I'm willing to lose this 401k I'm liquidating. I'm willing to lose this savings account I'm liquidating. I'm willing to lose this equity out of my home. I'm willing to lose some reputational challenges because I launched a new T-shirt line and the shirts didn't come in on time. I launched a new nail beauty supply line and it's not working right. I'm willing to try this invention. I'm the Wright brothers. I'm willing to try the invention for a plane to fly. And it might even cause a casualty.
Come on. Wow.
Someone might even die while I'm trying to send a spaceship out into the universe.
Life might be lost.
Life might be lost in order to do something greater that we've never seen before.
Come on.
And that's where you see greatness at.
Yes.
In the greatest inventions, and the greatest conquerors, and the greatest kings, queens, etc., where those were willing to put it all on the line and willing to lose something.
Come on.
Like that is like honestly I believe the foundational threshold of entrepreneurship.
Come on.
At its best.
Yes, sir.
Is someone who's willing to lose, which is why those who don't want to lose but so much time, don't want to lose but so much money.
Yes, sir.
Don't want to lose but so much risk or reputation.
And sometimes
go get a job.
Yes, sir. That's true. That's so true.
Because it's a safer space that requires less loss.
My God. And that's why you have most people who are hourly workers versus entrepreneurs. Because as you said, the entrepreneurs are willing to lose more. And that is the crux of success. And I want to say this as a last key to endurance. And this is so very important. You must understand and be able to appreciate timing. Timing.
Ooh, talk about it.
If you don't understand timing, you can miss what was meant to be your inheritance over the long run because you misread slow growth in the early years. You can misread opportunity because you wanted it right now, here and now, instead of waiting on your turn and didn't fully understand the principles of God behind patience. If you don't understand seasons, and when there are seasons, times for you to plant, times for you to reap, times for you to move, time for you to be still. If you don't understand timing as an entrepreneur, you can literally make a mess of your dreams. Because if the greatest hip hop artist in the world was to write the greatest hip hop song of the world in the 16th century, he had bad timing.
Right.
Because no matter how great his song was, it wouldn't be appreciated at that time. So now there's a scripture in 1 Chronicles chapter 12, verse 32 that speaks about one of the 12 tribes of Israel. This tribe was called Issachar. It was the smallest tribe out of all 12 tribes, or the 12 sons of Jacob. This tribe, Issachar, God speaks about this tribe and says, this was the tribe in Israel who had an uncanny gift to discern timing. They knew this is the time to move now, or wait, or in just about this amount of time, this opportunity is going to open up. Well, some of the best investors of the world have learned the art of timing.
Facts.
They've studied patterns and trends, and they've studied history to be able to predict cultural changes and how that will impact the markets. And based on timing and how they've done spreadsheets and all of that, they're able to say, around this 8 to 10 year time span, if you'll invest now, this investment can make you X amount of millions. Timing is so important. The Bible says in 1 Chronicles 12:32 that the tribe of Issachar could discern the times, and they knew what Israel should do. When you have the ability to know timing, it can tell you what to do in business.
Yeah, I think so many of us miss out on that because of our lust for instant gratification, right? So I look at it like now we're in 2021, and let's even take like Bitcoin, which I don't know the current day is somewhere probably about 55,000, 59,000 per coin. But I remember when I first got here to Atlanta in 2016, it was somewhere between $750 and $1,500 a coin.
My God.
$750 or $1,500 a coin, which seemed like a lot then,
right,
of this new thing that was being explained to me. But when you think about, and I think about all things I've wasted and blown $1,500 or $750 on,
yes,
had my mindset not been on on such specific, more instant, more quicker endeavors. And it's all retrospect, but again, understanding timing. There's new things happening now. There's NFTs and new other kind of new trends that are happening. But many of us miss out on long-term timing because it seems long-term. But when I look back now to 2017.
Come on, those 5 years went fast.
It seems so short.
Yes, sir.
It seems so short for something to appreciate so well. And so I can speak for myself. So I use this podcast opportunity to self-reflect, be transparent with myself and with our audience. But for a lot of you, the blessings and the things that you want right now today may not be today.
Yes.
But you could put yourself in position for them, not even tomorrow.
Right.
But in next year, in 2 years, in 3 years, in 4 years. And that's not going to seem like so long ago.
Come on.
When that time comes. Like I see it all the time in real estate.
Right.
Where you could buy land now for XYZ an acre, and it may take 20, 30 years to appreciate, but when that 30 years roll around, and you say, I bought 10 acres for $30,000.
Come on.
And now, we see a lot of developed land that 20, 30 years from here was considered rural.
Yes, sir. Yes,
right?
sir.
It's parts of Buckhead and Midtown and all that 20, 30 years ago that were much undeveloped. So
yes,
it's very it's very important that we do have that good governance over time, over pace, as we run this race. Everything can't be right now instant based on today's circumstance.
Yes, sir.
Something has to be at a trajectory. I think that's very important as well.
Well, Jay, I'll close with this quote. It's actually a combination of 2 verses of scripture in the Bible. Some have probably heard it put this way, but it says this: the race is not given to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, but he that endures to the end. God says the way to approach life and business, he says, don't approach it as something swift. He says, don't see it as you have to be the strongest in order to be successful. He said, but understand the ability to endure unto the end. Because according to Matthew 24:13, the scripture says, he that endures to the end receives the crown. Crowns in the Bible symbolize rulership, it symbolizes promotion. Crown is an element of authority. God says, he that endures, since we're dealing with endurance tonight, he that endures those hard times in business, endures those ups and downs, endures the changes that come along, the vicissitudes that come along with business living, he says, in the end, you shall receive a crown.
Absolutely. And not as profound, but I was talking to my brother yesterday. He was saying to me, he said, look at somebody like, take a lot of these current rappers. He said, look at Cardi B. Cardi B became a global megastar as a hip hop star. But just 3 years ago or so was one song she had that took her from a, mid-level, C-list, maybe even B-list reality star to an international megastar off of one record, one song, one time.
Come on now. Come on.
And I've learned that early in real estate. So you're only one deal away. Same thing in business. You're only one opportunity away.
Yes.
It could be that one podcast episode that you're not even thinking about like that, that somebody mega watches, retweets, reposts, and now you got 10, 20, 30 million views on a whole new platform.
Wow.
And that's where the consistency and the endurance comes in, because you never know what's going to be that hit. King Eugene and I, who runs E-Trade Productions, our media team, spent 3 hours in my bathroom putting together one 15-second, I don't even think even 15-second, maybe 13-second or so, TikTok video.
Wow.
3 hours to put together one less than 20-second video that on one platform did over 6 million views.
Wow.
And that grew my following by over 30,000 followers on one platform. Right? But we didn't know. You don't know what platform, what effort might be the one, but it's about consistently being in a race and enduring during your journey.
Awesome. Yeah. Governance, consistency, rest, process, stability, timing. All 6. Those are the keys. to successfully enduring
and finishing the race.
All
right, family, we wanted to give you guys those gems tonight. Hopefully that does something for someone's entrepreneur journey. If it's not you, forward and share to a family member or a friend. You guys can get updates and alerts of MoneyChurch, this podcast, which we haven't even made public yet. It's kind of a private podcast right now. One day you guys will be hearing it on all platforms, audio and visual. But text the words MoneyChurch, all one word, to 404-737-5751 to get updates and alerts on this podcast. Again, I have something special dropping for my 20th year in real estate and my next 20, this innovative, first of its kind video textbook experience, teaching real estate in 7 different learning styles, mixing video with textbook, with curriculum, with assessment, with oral, with audible, with all that in one. Guys, go ahead and make sure you join that waiting list. The number is 12. That's 12stepvip.com, the join and waiting list, 12stepvip.com. And look forward to keep showing you guys my consistency and my journey in real estate and activism and entrepreneurship and being a change agent. I thank you, my dear brother, my friend, for just lending your time and your expertise and God's gifts with us. And family, we'll see you back on the next MoneyChurch, pouring into your life and into your business in real life.
Amen.
Stay tuned.